Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good morning, grade 12 students, and I hope you're doing great in your lovely vacation. And I miss you, between you and me, okay? Because of the new circumstances, we are going to explain our coming lessons starting from today electronically. So inshallah, I'm going to explain this lesson. Our lesson today will be chapter 25, lesson 4, named or called amphibians. And I'm going to upload it, inshallah, on the school website to be able to watch this video and study well, inshallah, for the coming test. If there are going to be exams in coming days, inshallah. So let's start our lesson today. Before we start explanation, I just want to tell you what are the main objectives or ideas in this lesson. Inshallah, in this lesson we're supposed to study and describe the adaptations of amphibians that help them to live on land. This is number one, or the first idea we're supposed to study today. The second idea is to talk about the reproduction and development of amphibians, how they do this. And the third idea is to distinguish or differentiate between the three groups of modern amphibians. So let's start. The first part we are going to talk about is that you must know that amphibians evolved from lobe-finned fish. And who doesn't know what's meant by lobe-finned fish, you can move back to the previous lesson to read about this, and I'm gonna let you see a picture to just to remind you about the lobe-finned fish. If you look here, you will realize that there we already studied two types of fish. The first one is the ray-finned fish, and the second one is lobe-finned fish. And we already know the difference between both of them. The ray-finned fish have weak fin rays. They are not too strong to let them support weights above them, but they have an advantage that they help the fish to be good in maneuvering during swimming in water. While in case of lobe-finned fish, they have strong type of fin rays which support any support weight above them. The reason why lobe-finned fish are considered to be the ancestors of amphibians, this is it. This is the reason that they have lobe-finned fish which are strong and can be adapted or changed into limbs, as we are going to know. Let's move back to our lesson and continue our explanation. Now we will move to the next part, that you must know that amphibians were the first animals with 4 limbs. Okay, there is a scientific term called or named tetrapods. Tetrapods means the vertebrates that have how many limbs? That have 4 limbs. Okay, and amphibians are considered to be one of them, or the first tetrapods appear in life. Okay, so you must know here the meaning of tetrapods, and you must know that amphibians were the first animals appeared with 4 limbs. Okay, let's move to the next part. You must know here that vertebrates that lack 4 limbs evolved already from limbed ancestors, like snakes. Imagine that snakes are considered to be evolved from limbed ancestors. Okay, And the second information you must know that amphibians are animals. What's meant by amphibians? We're still talking about amphibians. What's meant by amphibians? Amphibians are the animals that can live on both land and in water. They can live on land and in water. Okay, so now we have the meaning of tetrapods and now we have the meaning of amphibians. You must differentiate between both of them. Okay, let's move to the first main idea in our lesson today, that we said that we are going to talk about adaptations that allow amphibians to live on land. What are these adaptations? They are very important to know them. Number one, they have large shoulder and hip bones. We are comparing them, by the way, with the previous type of animals, okay, before the appearance of amphibians or adaptation of amphibians. So they have large shoulders and hip bones that help them to support their bodies, okay, and support their limbs, okay. Number two, this is number one. Number two, mobile muscular tongue. They have mobile muscular, and all of us know how amphibians like frogs get their food by catching flies, for example, using their flexible tongue and long tongue. Okay. Number three, they have something that wasn't in their previous instance. So they have something called the middle ear. The middle ear, we just need to know that there's a structure inside their ears called the tympanic membrane. That serves and helps them in many different ways. One of them that help them in listening or hearing during moving in water, and this is one of the adaptations that is already found in amphibians. The fourth point here is that they can breathe through skin or with gills or even with lungs. Imagine they have many different ways to breathe. So these are the main adaptations that allow amphibians to be able to live on land. Okay, let's move to the next part, which is talking about how amphibians reproduce. In this part, you will know that amphibians must return to water to reproduce. So how or what are the strategies that amphibians use to do to keep their eggs wet? This is the main thing, that they must keep their eggs wet, okay, to avoid dryness. Number one, they can put or lay eggs directly in water. Number two, they can lay eggs on moist ground. Number three, they can wrap eggs in leaves. And number four, as you can see in this figure in front of you, brood eggs, they can brood eggs in pockets on the female's back. Imagine these projections here are eggs in a sack or in a pocket above their backs. These are the strategies that amphibians use to reproduce. So this is the second idea, main idea in our lesson. Let's move to the next part. The next part, before we started, he's giving you some tips or some notes that there's something called tadpoles. Tadpoles are considered to be the aquatic larvae of frogs. In a part of their life cycle, they, after hatching from their eggs, tadpoles are formed, which are the aquatic larvae of frogs. There is a scientific term here. It's an important scientific term, and you must understand its meaning. It's called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means what? He's here. Here he is explaining what's happening, or the metamorphosis, through the diagram or this figure, and I think you can summarize or get the meaning of metamorphosis. Metamorphosis, guys, means the change in the form and habits of an animal. The meaning of metamorphosis means the change in shape or form and habits of an animal. You can realize here that starting from fertilized egg, then will change into tadpoles, then to a young frog, then at last to the adult frog. This process called metamorphosis. Okay, so here you must know what's meant by tadpoles and what's meant by metamorphosis. Let's move to the next part, or the last main idea in our lesson today. Before we move, he's giving you a tip here, or a note, that not all amphibians undergo metamorphosis, for sure. Okay, here he's giving you the last main idea in this lesson, talking about modern amphibians can be divided into three groups, starting with the first group, which named the salamanders group. They have long body, 4 walking limbs. If you look here, they have 4 walking limbs and a tail. Okay, there are over 300 species of salamanders. Okay, as you can realize that I've already summarized the lesson in this form to not let you study a lot of information, because you know. But if you want to use your book to add more information, it's up to you. Inshallah, I'm gonna upload all these things, diagrams, PowerPoint files, assessment files, and videos also if you want. Okay, so the first group is called salamanders. This is number 1. Number 2, let's move to the second group, which are frogs. The second group is frogs. Frogs are the largest amphibian group and include toads. And I'm going to show you a picture showing the difference between frogs and toads. Okay, there are over 3,000 species of frogs. That's why they are the most common type of amphibians all of us know. Okay, number 3, they have glands in the skin of frogs and toads that contain poison. Some of them are so poisonous, or too poisonous, that help to protect them from predators. And in my opinion, most of frogs that have colorful skin, they are considered to be poisonous types. Okay, this is the second group related to the amphibians, the frogs. The first one is called, yes, this funny shaped animal, which is salamanders. Number 2, the frogs. And number 3, and the last group in our lesson today, which is named Sicilians. Sicilians, guys, as you can see in this figure, this is one of them, are legless, burrowing tropical amphibians, and there are 1,160 species of Sicilians in the world. So this is the last part of our lesson today, and before we finish I would like to let you see, as I told you, the difference between the toads and frogs before we finish. Here guys, you can find the difference between frogs and toads according to their shapes. I'm gonna inshallah upload this picture or this photo to let you understand the difference between them. It's not an important thing, but maybe one of you wants to know what's the difference between both of them. At last, I would like to thank you for listening to me, and I hope inshallah you will enjoy this lesson and understand the main ideas of our lesson today, the amphibians. And I wish for you a happy and a good vacation. Thank you and goodbye.